Hi, I'm Barefoot Eli. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about this 193, almost 194,000 mile Audi RS4 and why you should and shouldn't buy one of these. Let's go. All right, now if you've been following along on these videos, you know that I had a struggle getting some parts for this car. And by the way, you guys always ask me what wheel cleaner I use. It's a Sonax wheel cleaner. This is just a regular one. When I was attempting to do the injector replacement on this car, which will be a different point, I accidentally snapped a coolant line. And if you've been watching the videos, you know that that coolant line cost me, one, $250, and two, was the last one in the country. So the first reason why you should not buy one of these is because of the parts scarcity that exists for these cars. Now, when I say parts scarcity, I don't just mean coolant lines. These door blades on the bottom here, my car has rust on the bottom right there. These have been discontinued by Audi for quite some time now, and the Audi RS4 owners that do know about them, when they went out of stock, stockpiled them. So you're gonna pay a pretty penny if you can find a set of these. Another example of part scarcity is, let's say you want to change your pedals up. There's like one set of really nice pedal covers that have been discontinued for some time. Someone just posted pedal covers on eBay for like $1,000 for 4 pedals. Now, on the positive side, and one of the reasons for this part scarcity is that this car was a limited number car. There were not that many of these made. And so that means that when you buy an RS4, you're kind of buying into like an exclusive clan almost. It's a very unique, cool, and kind of rare car to own, and actually surprisingly, a lot of people recognize that. While we wait for the wheel cleaner to set in, I'll talk about the second reason why you should buy one. Everyone loves the look of the RS4. I mean, these wide RS fenders back there and up here, there is just something magical about seeing this car drive down the road looking like that. The B7 RS4 is just such a timeless design. Well, I'll get you guys to appreciate these hips with a little bit of foam action. But one reason that you shouldn't buy an RS4 is that they're actually really expensive to fix. Going along with that parts scarcity, I mean, a lot of these cars need injectors like ASAP as soon as you get them. That's one of the few things that can cause you to lose a motor on these cars. And injectors are like, I don't know, I think the kit from FCPRO is like $1,000, maybe $1,100, and then you have to pay for labor on top of that. So I actually got a pretty reasonable quote, but I've seen between like $1,000 to like $1,400 for injector install, carbon clean, and manifold flap delete, which I actually have all that stuff from JHM. I mean, that's a lot of money for, you know, unless you have like injector history, that's gonna be like, I don't know, $2,500, $3,000 bill as soon as you get the car, just to do injectors and to have the carbon cleaning done. And that is like not something to blink an eye at. On top of that, this car has 2-piece rotors from the factory, which are not inexpensive to replace. Actually, one of the few things that is inexpensive to replace is the clutch. The clutch is only like $200 from FCPR, or $212 for a clutch. There's a lot that can go wrong on these cars, and a lot that is very expensive to fix. I mean, they are pretty straightforward cars. It's not like an RS6 where there's 2 turbos attached to that 4.2 liter V8, but at the same time, like, there's a lot that can go wrong on these, and a lot, if the previous owner doesn't take care of it, that can cost you, you know, quite a bit of money. Now let's flip to a positive. The previous owner probably is going to take care of it, or at least in their eyes take care of it. We all have different definitions of what taking care of a car means, for good or for bad. For bad as far as pricing goes, which we'll talk about. Most people knows what these cars are at this point, and that means that you'll get a lot of people who are actually taking care of this car because it's an RS and because it's so limited numbers and everything. Like, most owners know that they have a pretty cool car, and at this point they've ended up in enthusiast hands. Like, there's no more businessmen that have these, at least that I know of, because they would have all gotten rid of them as soon as, you know, it became more than like 3 years old. So most owners know what they have, which means that most of the maintenance is taken care of, but still, if anything goes wrong, or if there's anything that's needed, break out your checkbook. It's going to be expensive. To my point of them being difficult to fix, a lot of RS4 owners, which is good if you're buying the car, I guess, don't necessarily maintain the cars themselves. A lot of them pay other people to work on the cars, which is great if you're buying it and it has a big maintenance history and, like, you know, the shop knew what they were doing. I mean, there are a lot of RS specialists out there, just because these are so difficult to fix. But you know, if you're kind of an amateur mechanic, or like, I wouldn't even put myself as a mechanic, but like if you're an amateur renter like I am, these cars can be a challenge. and that means that you have to either, you know, pony up and pay someone or find a friend with knowledge and pay them. I would say, unless you're like a die-hard RS enthusiast and you have, you know, another car as your daily or whatever, and this is going to be your second car, I would argue that a B7 RS4 is probably a better buy than this car. It doesn't have the same driving emotion or driving experience, and obviously it's not a 6-speed manual V8 car. It would be either a 6-speed or a DSG supercharged V6 car, but there's so much less maintenance heavy. They would run circles around this car in most situations, if not all situations. They don't have as much emotion. I know I've talked a lot about the emotion of this car, and that's one of the big draws of it, but like for most people, honestly, like I think a B7 RS4 would be a better buy, and that's why, like, if you're like considering an S4, I would really ask yourself, like, hey, am I ready for the headaches that are associated with this car? Because I know I wasn't. I didn't expect this car to be as much of a pain as it was. Now, part of that is because it was misrepresented online in the auction, but I mean, I guess if you're doing math, these cars are 13, 14, 15 years old, depending on when you're watching this video. Someone messaged me the other day on Instagram, should I buy this car? It's really well maintained. I said, are you ready to, you know, have issues with it? He goes, no, I shouldn't. It's really well maintained. And I said, that really doesn't matter at this point. Like, the major stuff is great. If it has a clutch, if it has injectors, if it has a carbon clean, awesome. But all it takes is one cracked coolant line or, you know, one seized bolt when you're doing a control arm job or something like that for these cars to turn into a real expensive, painful headache. So, you know, to that front again, to the B7 RS4, like that car is so much less of a headache than the RS4. There's so many, like it's newer, there's less potential for failure, all that kind of stuff that comes along with buying a 13 or 14-year-old car doesn't come with a B7 RS4. Now, I should say that this car, like I said, it has the magic. And the B7 RS4 does not have the same magic that this car has. I mean, you're on the highway in 6th gear cruising at 80 miles an hour, and all it wants you to do is bang off downshifts until you're in 3rd gear, and then rip on it to 8250, grab 4th, rip on it to 8250, etc., etc. It's not a fast car, but it has so much emotion with it. So, you know, if you're looking for an emotional car and you're okay with paying the difference, this is where it's at. Audi's never going to make another one of these. Like, there will never be another B7 RS4. There will never be a 4.2 liter manual, high revving V8 mated to a 6-speed because it doesn't get the economy that modern cars need. There will not be another Audi that has steering feel like this car. Obviously there's an exclusivity of this car being an RS4, but then there's also the fact that there's literally never going to be another one. You know, should you own this car, and does it make sense for a lot of people? Probably not. However, if you're going to buy one, I think now is the time, because they're only going up in value, so you're not going to lose money unless you put a metric F-ton into the car because it was not maintained by the previous owner. Do your pre-purchase inspection, that'll knock out a lot of that. And two, I mean, do you want to own this car? Because if you do, like, the time is now. The time is not in 3 years when gas is, you know, harder to get and more expensive and all that fun stuff. Like, the time for a gas guzzling V8 is right now, and it's, you know, right behind me. It's sitting right behind me. If you have the means to get it, and I definitely wouldn't recommend getting it as your only car, but if you have the means to get it and try it out and love it for a couple months or even a couple years, and then, you know, when the time comes, get rid of it, hopefully get your money back out of it, I would highly recommend doing it. Because I mean, sure, you're going to pay a lot in maintenance, and I wanted to be realistic with that, because I mean, if you have the means to do this, especially if you have another car and this is going to be your second car and you're okay with wrenching on it yourself and learning new things, this is a very special car. It's a limited number car, sure, whatever, that means something because it keeps the values up, but more than just being a limited number car, it is just a magical all-around package. So if you have the opportunity to buy a B7 RS4, I would say go out and do it, as long as it is responsibly within your means. Don't go out there and reach for this car, because it will punish you with maintenance bills. I hope this video made sense, and I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. I really do enjoy this car. I'm not trying to knock it, but I also want to be realistic for a lot of people who are watching. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Go out there and spread some positivity, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.